Hey healers, we are live. Welcome to the chat. This is my first time going live on YouTube. I'm excited. So I don't know if people are gonna get notified that we're going live or how this is gonna work. But I wanted to check in with you guys. It's been a while. I've been healing the wound of self-sacrifice. I've been breaking the generational curse of self-sacrifice. You're welcome. Getting back in my bag. You go through these times on your journey where everything just gets really confusing and you just don't know what to say about it and don't even feel like yourself, and have to get back in touch with those different parts of yourself. And sometimes that's for the first time. The things that I've been uncovering in my spiritual work with sex workers and survivors lately has been very next level unsettling, because it strikes at the core of humanity and our very existence. Everybody knows that religion has been used as a way to subjugate, dominate, and control people. And what's been coming up in our sessions has been really the actual visual proof of it, essentially. The clients and students that I've been working with, because I say clients and students because I work as a service provider and a coach, and I also teach. And I primarily prioritize my role as a teacher because it's very important to me that everyone learns these things for themselves. And this is the point we're at right now, is that like I can't really tell you. It's like it almost will sound unbelievable if I tell you guys what I'm seeing. If you can't see it for yourself, most of you will not believe me. So this is a position that a lot of goddesses find themselves in, where you're not going to be believed. And it's a point where I've come to a point where I'm like, honestly, the only thing left is just for me to become a super villain. I swear, because to see the way that things actually are, and to see all the ways that we're systematically kept from seeing that and knowing that, is that to be able to see through it, when you have the ability to see through the normal manifestations of these curses, which would seem that, oh, this is just how things are, or this is how life is, or this is how things are for us, that's how they've always been. And you know, when it comes to like being in the struggle and coming from an ancestral lineage that has been marked by like famine or genocide, slavery, whatever it is. And right now it's so hard to even have simple conversations about reality, because people are so locked into a particular version of what they think reality is, because that's what's been mentally programmed into them over a long period of time, extended period of time, through that of not only them but their ancestors as well. And when you look at 3 generations ahead or 3 generations behind, those are essentially the same person. Like a person that's in the middle of 3 generations behind and 3 generations forward is not going to be that much different than the other predecessors and futures right around them, because they're being created with the same egg. Like all right, stay with me. So it's not the exact same egg, but it's a egg that rebirths itself 6 times. A prophetic message doesn't necessarily have to make sense to you or to everybody there's things that have to come out. And in this age of information where you can listen to so many people that have so many prophetic words to give you and will show up with you day in and day out in your time of need, hey, what do you need an actual community for? The big difference between a lot of between my platform and a lot of other platforms is that it's a real community where you can actually really get to know the people and be in real time community with them. And the reason why is because it's my community that I started, and I've always loved to gather with people, and I come from communal culture. I'm an Arab Muslim woman. This has always been my normal, is to be around people and to create spaces where people can come together. So especially, you know, going through so many changes and sacrificing like belonging to go towards my soul's calling, which would look very like possibly irresponsible or possibly disrespectful to a lot of people. And for me, growing up as not having really enough like emotional support to fully be myself, and like using my gifts more so to gain favor or to like using them in a way that would make other people feel happy. I wouldn't always tend to be able to express myself completely from my heart for myself. And I found that when I did, I was punished for it in different ways. And also, using my, like, going into seclusion to practice my creativity. And it's the difference between, like, I think it started as that, like, I just wanted to hide and be away and by myself. And that was a space for me to create. And I still love going into that place and not being bothered and not having like just anyone to answer to. But then I always found that like a lot of times, like, I don't know, I would bring my creations out and I just didn't feel like I guess I just have never really felt understood. So I think that at certain times when I'm creating my content for my platforms, I have a tendency to like want to over explain myself. And it's not only like there's something that I like to like explore into deeper things that I can talk through with my words. But some things, sometimes some over explanations can come from feeling insecure with the self. And when I'm peeling back the layers of everything that I'm seeing in the Akashic records, so I essentially, like, mainstream spirituality is completely hijacked, and it goes so much more beyond what alhamdulillah, what anybody knows. Okay. There's messages that we want to get out to you, but we can't because they're being blocked. Private spaces are the only places that we can talk about these things. So it's been diminishing my creativity because of not only being censored and just not listened to, attacked. Like, you have to be able to deal with the fact that you're gonna come up with backlash when you're on the internet talking about things, because there's literally, like, I mean, not only are there people getting paid to advance certain viewpoints, but there's people that are just brainwashed and can't control themselves and don't know no better. And not only that, but we ourselves, like, when we're talking about healing from ritual sexual abuse, that means MK Ultra. So these things are very real in our realities as sexual abuse survivors when it comes to these cult rituals and the basis origins of this society, which if you look at my video, The Actual Basis of Society, you'll learn more. And unfortunately, I had to discover these things about myself and about my life and about society, and now this is the work I do. And I'm not sorry, like, it feels very unsettling at times to like be like, okay, this is what I do. I show up for work to talk about all this, like the like deepest pains and worst wounds and greatest transgressions of all time, and untangling that so that we can all have healthy, wealthy lives, long lasting, with our children if we want that, and whatever else we want. Like, you know, it's totally valid if you don't want to have kids and you just want to spend your money on yourself, and you can still benefit from ancestral healing and generational healing immensely. I think I've spent a lot of time focusing on the ancestral, like, ancestors care about kids, so I've spent a lot of time focusing on the aspect of childbirth, fertility, being able to bring children through, like wanting to bring children through, because again, a lot of people don't want kids, but the reality is that if they listen to their body, like, they really do want kids, but they're scared because of societal factors and because of generational curses. If you had to bring children into an unsafe environment generation after generation after generation, at a certain point you're not going to want to do that anymore, and your body might even stop you by literally refusing to produce whatever is needed to create that embryo. The concept of generational curses goes further into every aspect of our lives, when it comes to like, how much money do you make, how much love and joy can you have in your life, like how much can you be yourself, how much joy with family can you have. Unfortunately, like, because like what I learned, one huge thing that I learned from my first year working as a coach, shout out to my coaching clients, shout out to my OG coaching clients, I got the most immersive boot camp experience working with my clients doing coaching, and I was a new coach. I feel like we got great results. I feel really great about what we did together, and it was hard to like kind of come out of that, because I'm like, what now? And while I was coming to a close, where I started the first year, I started with the Crossroads, and then I ended with the Crossroads Extendo, which basically, that was the whole point, was to empower my clients to feel secure, not only asking for help and receiving help, but doing it themselves. But not only doing it themselves, because many people are already so used to doing everything themselves that that's just the normal. It's actually easier not to ask for help. So that balance, like having that balance, it's like, okay, because what I noticed is that there's just so many different dynamics when it comes to healing this feminine, divine feminine goddess energy, where what it gets frustrating when we give our power away. And now, like, working with my clients, I can honestly see it more so from a man's perspective, like looking at me or looking at another woman or like any masculine person, like, just like, you know, like, when you can look at a person and just be like, wow, like, okay, I see your glory, like, why don't you believe in yourself more, like, why don't you do more to enable yourself to be successful? I look at myself like that, and you know why we don't always do more to make sure that we can be successful or have more support enabling us to flourish and like thrive and do everything we need to do? Because of this curse of self-sacrifice, because no longer are our bloodlines participating in these sacrificial rites, which many of us come from sacrificial bloodlines, which literally would participate in, they were death cults that would literally participate in human sacrifice for their religion. This was part of their religion, and this was constantly practiced. So to think that we just come through and never talk about that, and never think about it, and never like address the impact that this could have on us, where some of us come from societies where it was noble to be a sacrifice and people wanted to be the sacrifice, but then what happens in our modern day times is that the self-sacrifice takes over. So you're not actually being sacrificed, you're sacrificing yourself, and it comes in the form of overgiving to other people, not meeting your own needs first. and just in generally, like, you know, Muslims know it as a jihad. Basically, it's like your holy war. It's like your sacrifice that you have to make, and it's typically like the thing that's most important to you, or like whatever you sacrifice is a good thing. If you sacrifice something for that you want it for yourself, but you sacrifice it, you don't get it, and you give it to your children or you give it to somebody else, that's considered noble. Why is that? Why is that? Let's chat. What's up, you guys? Let's chat. This is my first live stream on YouTube. Thank you for tuning in. Make sure you smash that like button. It looks like you already did. Thank you. Chat with me, you guys. Feel free to leave a comment. But we're talking about the breaking the generational curse of self-sacrifice. I think I'm just gonna have this be my channel. Is like every live stream is just gonna be breaking another generational curse. And what we have to do when we're breaking these curses is like break them all at once, because they're a conglomeration that is congealed together. So multiple different curses, like the curse of sexual abuse, the curse of prostitution, the curse of poverty, will be like knotted up together. That was the curse that I broke when I created Heaven on Earth Reiki. The conglomerate curse of prostitution, child sexual abuse, and poverty. So I went from literally not being able to have stable housing, constantly having problems everywhere I went, having to trust my gut, going on a whirlwind trip around like the whole East Coast and South, and then ending up in New Orleans and settling here, even though it was a rocky transition, coming here to learn and becoming Amira in the process, which is not my real name, but I don't think that I owe other people my real name. And I find it very interesting that people always like feel entitled to that. And like, even every stripper knows that everybody wants to know, what is your real name? But I have so many different names that I could tell a person to call me, and it's because you could never really touch my real name. And I do spiritual work, so people deliberately want to know other people's real names in the realm of spiritual work, because they want to hex them or do weird stuff to them. What I've done with my spiritual practice is I've been willing to risk certain things so that I could understand them better and learn better. And so I think having that self-sacrificial energy to me enabled me to do that. Because if you've ever been an adult entertainer that worked under dubious conditions, you may have put yourself into a extreme scenario where like you might have been really unsafe, but you didn't register that it was unsafe, or you just did it anyways and you didn't think about it. So that's because there's a part of you that just don't care and like is willing to risk it all. And you want to look at your past life memory. This is a lot of what's coming up and what's indicated for us right now. And if you guys want to go deeper, join my 3-month container for the summer. It's called Remembering. We're going to be remembering. You guys, this is going to be so next level. I've been preparing for this all year, and honestly, it's not even, I was going to raise the price on it, but I left it the same because I wanted to keep it as accessible as possible for the most people, but nobody's joining, so I might just raise the price again, because that might be what I was actually supposed to do. But if you guys catch it right now, I've tried to stop doing my marketing. Like, I don't want to stress you guys out when I'm doing marketing. Like, I want the marketing to be like really clear and like let you guys know ahead of time. But that entails getting support, which if you are dealing with the curse of self-sacrifice, getting support is next to impossible. Oh, you sent a message, but then it, dang it. Talk to me. Talk to me. See, that's another thing. Like, I want to hear from you guys. don't let me be the only one that tells all my inner workings. Like, that's not fair. So, as I'm breaking the curse of self-sacrifice, like, I'm changing the entire structure of my business, because I didn't know what I know now. So in order for me to be able to grow, I have to have the capacity to hold that growth, and I didn't have that capacity before. I was just holding all of it, and that led to, like, too much drama, and too much stress. So I'm really excited about what's next. But yeah, like, I'm excited to see who's gonna join. I'm gonna leave it open for another 2 weeks too, for people to join, and I'm gonna keep it the same price. I'm not gonna put it up. I was just joking. Because sometimes the reason why actually I sometimes, like, go back and forth with my pricing, like, for one, sometimes I'm instructed to offer certain things at certain times, and, like, another thing is, like, a lack of confidence that it's gonna work, that I'm gonna be able to do it, even though I have all this evidence already. So I still struggle in my business too, you guys. Like, I think that the confidence that I have comes from continuing to try, and it's been hard changing my viewpoints and changing my mindset and changing my structures of organization and even changing my environment. I literally, when I went from channeling heaven on earth Reiki, like, beginning my Reiki courses, that the year that I started teaching my Reiki courses, 2018 to 2019, like, a year later, I was in New Orleans. That fast. So much happened. The drama. Oh, the drama. This is why I enforce boundaries now, because unfortunately the people to most likely be the habitual boundary crossers, even if they don't mean to, and they're not trying to cross the boundary, they're gonna be the ones that can't handle it when they had to take the bull by the horns in the end. No, but for real, like, my primary objective for my work has always been to heal myself first, and, like, what I've learned about setting boundaries and what I need and how to honor my needs and that they're worth honoring is priceless. Legit been navigating this sacrificial vibe. Hey boo, hey. Legit been navigating this sacrificial vibe. Woke up to Iranian Egyptian ancestry. Interesting to think of how a lot of what I've been seeing might link me more deeply to the lineage. Yeah, that's interesting. Yep. Ancient Egypt always comes up a lot. Majority of all the people that I work with, we are past life Isis priestesses, and the whole story of Isis too is, like, it's so crazy what I've learned from doing these Isis Reiki initiations. Because first of all, when I got the idea for Isis Reiki, I didn't know that that's actually, like, there's, like, tons of people that have channeled Isis Reiki. So that was so cool when I found that out. And it's like the next level of what I've learned about using that energy, the sexual energy, the brain chemicals, the hormones, the breath, the visualization, the like tingles, and the spirit communication, the spell work and the incantations and intention settings, and the conjuring of spiritual energy. So we are looking at past lives. It's some of us have them both, past lives and ancestral lineages. Some are just past lives and some are just ancestral. For every person it's different. So what I do in the Isis Reiki initiations is I take you on a journey, and you get to see that. So your ancient ancestors take us into the records of what has happened, and they don't show everything because obviously like that's like literally like it could be like hundreds of millions of years of lifetimes. Like, so sometimes for people that are old souls that have a lot of lifetimes, I will see like them flash through so many different lifetimes, and a lot of times they'll be in ancient Egypt. That's the thing that I've seen a few times, is flashing through different lifetimes in ancient Egypt, because people don't even realize just how long a span of time that actually was. And most of our history that really informs our day-to-day activity and interactions with each other is just from the past, a couple hundred years. They say like 400, 500 years, but what people actually believe about history versus what actually happened is two different things. We already know. So what we're seeing is that first of all, like when it comes to the concept of slavery, sex slavery, healing this wound, is that everything is slavery, literally. And even the people that are up at the upper echelons of society, that are royalty, that are celebrities, they're still into this caste system. They're still bound to a system of slavery that they can't choose, and that ultimately may result in them being sacrificed or another type of thing happening. So many people want to talk about this, but it's like the conversation is like always shunned, or like it's said that it's like what's it called, it's conspiracy. It's conspiracy. People want to talk about the fact that like there's sacrifices going on. Even celebrities are even speaking out about this. We live in a moment in time in which we can go online and like find out anything, and there's increasingly more censorship, and certain stuff will get put in front of your face than other stuff. So this is what the Healing Mind Control Ritual is for. We're actually living in the time where I've planned for this. And what's kind of awkward for me now is that, like I was saying earlier in the beginning of this video, is that like the things that I'm seeing are really far out for a lot of people. They can't believe them. So if you were to come to me and you're like, okay, well, tell me what is my ancestors want me to know. And I'm like, your ancestors want you to know that you're, like you have this certain like past life experience where you were on a boat traveling around the world, and you have an idea in your mind of like that never, like your mind is already conditioned to think that nobody that none of my ancestors got to do that, or there was nothing like basically like my past is oppression or something like that. It's hard for that to enter into your consciousness, to think like, oh, that could be possible. Even if it does enter in and you're like, oh wow, but then there's like something there that's like tries to block it or tries to stop it to really take in like the information of that past life. Because I think a lot of times people like to like be like, if they like to feel the glory of like, I was Cleopatra in a past life, or I was a queen, or I was anything like that, they're thinking like I was this in a past life. You like to feel the glamour of feeling to be important. And a lot of people who were royalty in past lives, especially because a lot of those royals, if they were royals that became gods, then they create legions. So there could be multiple people that carry that same energy signature reincarnated with that. But however, like, I mean, what if you were like a slave getting beaten in your past life? Like, are you gonna remember that? Are you gonna remember that past life? That could be having an impact on you right now. What if you have these certain cyclical relationships that you only see in glimpses in dreams and in psychedelic states, where you keep getting haunted by something that's reoccurring, and you know that it's deeper than what it seems, and you don't know what it is, and you're scared to go there. This is what remembering is for. This is what this space that I create is for. And Root Lock, I'm beginning to embrace my darkness and my dark side, because I was in a session with the client yesterday, and I had a spontaneous meetup with a client the day before, and I was just thinking, why is this my interest area, to delve into these generational curses that create childhood sexual abuse and poverty and genocide? And, you know, why am I constantly getting visions that are of sacrificial rites being performed, and I'm totally desensitized to it now? It doesn't even scare me anymore. And why am I being put on the trail of these different murder mysteries? And then when I open up space to have a conversation about like being confronted with these like literal serial killers in my community, then I'm finding out that the other sex workers and survivors that are my clients and students that I work with closely in community have also had similar experiences. So we're known that we potentially, our partners are the most likely to murder us, and then possibly would do a murder-suicide after that, because that is a thing. And so to not look at the origins of that and where that comes from, we have to develop enough self-worth to be able to stop this self-sacrifice and choose a life for ourselves, because you're gonna die at the end of it anyways. And within these sacrificial rites that are like surfacing in these lineages, they're surfacing through the actions of people that unknowingly sacrifice themselves or sacrifice other people. Because when I went to the Olmec temple in Cancun, which is like a really like quiet temple that a lot of tourists don't go to, I don't think they even know about it. I knew that they did sacrifices there. I felt it. And my guide that was with me was explaining that this was how they used to do the sacrifices. They used to put the people on top of the pyramid, and they would cut them, and then they would fall down off the pyramid, and their blood would spill down. And I listened for the screams, because I can hear screams when I'm in murder scenes. When I'm at like a murder scene or a place where people have been murdered before, I can hear the screams, and I can hear like what happened. So I listened for the screams, and I didn't hear any. And I was like, oh, they wanted to be sacrificed. And he said, true, the only people that cried were their mothers. The only people that were sad, you weren't supposed to be sad, because that was something honorable to do. And when you look at people who have like been public sacrifices, you can just think that of course they would want to do that honorable thing for their family. And even if you know anybody that is like died tragically, like it's always like somebody that everyone loves. They have a lot of people that will miss them, and a lot of times they have felt powerless to impact the lives of their loved ones positively enough, and felt that they could do a better job from the other side. And if they sacrificed their life, that would be more life for them. Can I become a moderator, please? Thank you. Maybe. I don't know you. But develop a good track record here. Anything is possible. I'm going to start using YouTube as my primary platform instead of Instagram and Facebook. I don't like going live on Instagram anymore because I don't feel that enough people see it. I feel that they're not really promoting my platform. I think I'll have better luck on YouTube given the algorithm and the way that it works, even though I'm talking about controversial topics. But I'll have to get used to what I can and can't say, because I know that certain words will trigger that. So Thank you for the support. I appreciate it. Thanks for being here. Make sure you guys hit that like button. That really helps a lot. Thank you for supporting my channel. You guys know that I run a business, so I'm selling services, but whether you shop with me or not, I'm here to provide value for you in your journey, because this is what I believe in. This is what's important to me, is healing the roots so that the tree is stable. Because the more that we have that for all of us, the stronger our world is together. I don't just preach and teach. I apply what I know and what I study to myself, and sometimes things just honestly like take a long time to learn. They just sometimes honestly take a long time to learn. And those are usually those deeply rooted past life ancestral patterns that you may never be able to do anything about them. They may always be an issue. That's okay. we all have our issues. So for this, talking about self-sacrifice, I'm going to do a deeper energy cleanse. I've been working in this energy all month, since last month actually. It's been building up a lot. And with the self-sacrifice curse, we're breaking curses that have to do with people pleasing, overworking, cutting parts of yourself off, compartmentalizing yourself, making yourself into a person that is what other people want you to be instead of who you are, and gravitating towards those people who accept you and love you for who you are, instead of trying to change yourself to fit somebody else's point of view that doesn't embrace you. You can't do that. You can't make people like you. They're either they do or they don't. Only in a transactional relationship can you make somebody like you, and that's buying them. So that means that they're just not gonna like you when you stop buying them, if you're buying them in any kind of way. And when it comes to what we have to provide as far as our soul's purpose, the pure essence of that is the only offering that is needed. You are the offering. You are the self-expression. You're not the sacrifice this time. You don't have to be. Using these principles can save your life. Having knowledge of this information can save your life. It can save the lives of people you love by not allowing you to become the person that sacrifices them, and by not allowing them to become the person that gets sacrificed. Learning is a long process. Can you please inform us about your main topics? Generational curses is my #1 main topic. Breaking generational curses of sexual abuse. Essentially, it's the thing that you have to do before you can really have pleasure. Like, before you can have a lot of pleasure. Because I think that it's easy to bypass and go just to the route of like, what's gonna feel good? What's gonna feel good? But a lot of times, things that you really need to do aren't gonna feel good. There's conversations that you really need to have, like, they're not gonna always feel good. And I think like increasing our capacity for discomfort is actually a really, really good thing. That's why I like to push my audience with certain topics that have to do with race, gender, ethnicity, sexuality, sexual orientation, and give the unexpected perspective from within our space, because yes, we're so far beyond decolonial and anti-colonial, like we're post-colonial, because these structures may still exist, but on another planet light years away, they've already crumbled. So I refuse to believe that any of it is real, while at the same time completely like having a one-dimensional foot in the reality that this war, poverty, famine, it still exists. And I come from the future with certain codes and keys to keep you from having to continue to experience that. But it's very precarious whether the individual will choose that route, because for me, I've always been divergent and always been the one to like go my own way and seek things out for myself and not have to go along with the crowd. And what I'm finding now is that the wound of self-sacrifice will keep you, a lot of people will keep themselves into the crowd and sacrifice themselves for the crowd rather than sacrificing the crowd for themselves. And when you look at those two options, that is pretty stark also. Like if I have to sacrifice somebody, it's either me or them. Well, it's definitely not going to be me. Excellent topics. Thank you. Thanks for being here to have the conversation. I'm glad we can talk about this and continue to have the conversation and learn from one another. I want peace on earth. I want peace for myself and peace for all people. I don't believe that privilege is a bad thing. I don't believe that privilege is a bad thing. I believe privilege is a good thing. I don't believe you have to necessarily help people with your privilege. When people get into interpersonal conversations about what other people should do with their privilege, they're making it the individual responsible for a systematic societal issue that is so much bigger than one individual who has enough wealth to live a good life for themselves. But unfortunately, when people are in poverty, they're not thinking like that, and that's the poverty mindset. That's the lack mindset, and that's a scarcity mindset, and it comes from experiences, ancestral experiences of famine, of poverty, of lack, of desperation. And it changes how people look at one another. For example, your tribe is fighting another tribe and they win, and so your tribe has to like flee and doesn't have enough food to eat. What do you think that's going to do to your bloodline? And then you're going to psychologically, when you see that other person of that other tribe, associate that with them. So there's a lot more going into interactions, especially if you live in a place that's very diverse. You know, you're not only just around your tribe, you're around all different other people. And so this is what people are navigating in places that are very diverse, is like in places where there's a lot of people migrating to and from. Navigating like, what do I see when I look at you? What do I feel when I look at you? And why do I feel that? So what are you attracted to and why? What are you repelled by and why? What makes it so? What do you see? You know, and start, you get to start to play around with what do other people see when they look at you. And that was my process of becoming Amira, which is like, I stopped using that name because interestingly, like I felt that I was just absorbing so much of other people's projections of me, and I wanted to enforce my own projection. But then I realized, like, it's just funny because I love going by the name Sarada too, and that's a whole different projection. And that is so funny because that gets in the conversation of what is that, what language is that, like what name, what does that mean? And like, it's just so funny because neither are my real name, because most people can't pronounce my real name, and I don't want to hear them say it in their language or in their dialect. I like it in mine. Like, it's sacred, it's special to me, so that is what I do. But when you achieve a certain status, then you know that everybody's gonna learn to say your name, and like they're gonna get it right, so, or look like a fool. So you're super appreciated. Your work, being so candid about your journey, is helping undo a lot of oppressive programming, waking up to so much I didn't even know was in and around me. Wild how deep it goes. Yeah, it is. Yeah, sure, privilege is a gift. Yes, it is. Yes, indeed. Yeah, I've been at a weird point because a lot of what I've been coming to is so next level. So if I try to talk about it, I sound crazy. And this is a normal experience for psychically gifted people. Like, look at the story of Cassandra. That's like a story of ancient Greek mythology where she had the gift of prophecy and she could see into the future, but she had the curse of no one believing her. So I don't have that curse. People believe me, and if they can. If they can. And this is what the tension that frustrated me between being a professional tarot reader and doing spiritual work for people, like, you know, them being able to come to me and me answer questions about things that are going on in their lives, versus becoming a teacher and encouraging them to learn for themselves, is like, because one is like, you need to know these things for yourself, because what's actually coming and the societal shifts that are actually coming it is going to behoove you to be as in touch with your intuition as possible. Otherwise you could get tricked really badly, and I don't want that for you. And then all of a sudden here comes the whole pandemic, and you know the rest. And it's really unfortunate. It was even like people that I worked with really closely that, like, I'm like, and it's like, you see people falling for certain stuff, you don't judge them or disown them or anything, but what ends up happening is a lot of times that, like, I feel the animosity of the things that I'm willing to let go of and grow through and move through, and what I've learned and how I can't be that person that people want me to be. I can't stay in that place, and I have to keep moving. So coming from a person of color consciousness, you know, like a queer person of color consciousness, to moving into a consciousness where I've healed to the point that the generational curse is placed on my bloodline to separate the family and to essentially genocide us after a period of time. They won't work. I've broken those curses. Yeah, I lived my life. I had fun, you know, but I get to choose. I had fun. I had trauma. It was a mixed cocktail. And I get to choose, like, now what do I move forward with? They try to make you think that, like, you're gonna just be doomed to the same fate forever, and I get to choose what I want out of my life. I get to make my own decisions, and so I don't have to just resign myself to what is allocated for people of my class or caliber. Also, like, it's just the basis with which people are judged in society is completely faulty. It's based on a oppressive paradigm. The majority of everything that exists is literally like, it is so rare to come across something that is just like authentic, that you know when you feel it, you know, or something that's like a product or a service that is actually like really gonna do what it says it does. It's really gonna give you the results, and it's really gonna care about you as a person in the process. Now here, this is what will hold the person that's self-sacrificing back. Hold on, what time is it? I gotta go soon. I don't know what time it is. Okay. I know I have an appointment soon, but my notification will pop up when it's time, so we'll stay chatting for like 10 more minutes, and then I'll go. Now, let's see. Where was I? I think very deeply into these things because I really care, and I get close enough to know people. So what I've always done with my business up until now is like I've been very hands-on with the majority of everybody that I've worked with. I've gotten to know them. I'll like watch their online presence, you know, and engage with them. What I'm changing now is like to pull myself back more from it, because I want people to have the space to come to me, because what I'm actually inviting you into is very life-changing and transformative, and I want people to come towards me that really feel secure in knowing that they're doing something that they have the ability to do. Because I'm me. I will just throw myself into the wind and whatever changes I need to make, and I'll just break all hell, let all hell break loose and whatever, and move across country and quit the job, and I've done all that. Like, so that's me, but that's not for everybody. And so I want people to feel really secure, and that's why my focus now, the way that I'm going to be doing my marketing for my courses, and the way that I've set everything up in a non-self-sacrificial way. This is really important for women and like anybody who's a natural caregiver, who's naturally caregiving, where if you give to others and you don't ever get enough, which I think that's a lot of men too, and whatever genders you identify with, everyone is welcome here. When it comes to the polarity of masculine and feminine energy, we want to choose which one we want to be in. That is a life hack. That is the biggest life hack. It's choosing which energy you want to be in. And so for a lot of people that I work with that come to me, they're in feminine energy, or they want to be in feminine energy, and I hold that space. So I'm used to holding space, but I'm not used to being held. I'm not used to knowing that, okay, other people got me. If I don't do it, someone else will do it. If I want it done right, I can get someone else to do it. I know that I'm going to be supported. You know, this is like when you come from a generational curse of self-sacrifice, you'll never feel like that. That's like the Cinderella story. Like you'll always feel that you have to give, and that you have to provide, and that you know that like if anybody has your back, it's going to be a freaking miracle. Literally, like the fairy godmother and the pumpkin. So we're retraining ourselves to receive support, because the more support that you can receive, the more you can give. And you want to give, then you got to give. That's what's going to make you feel good. So I love coming on here and giving these talks and like holding the space. I love teaching my classes. And if I'm in the vibration of self-sacrifice, I would do it in a way that would make me not love it, because I would be running myself into the ground, and I would be burning out and overgiving, which would be normal, because when people do that, they're self-sacrificing, and that is a slow burn to a eventual death, early death of illness, possibly addiction. So we're doing this shadow work to look at what's happened in the ancient past and like over generations of millennia, so that we can see how it plays out today, and we can make the connections, and we can clear the energy. And we do this psychically and spiritually. I teach Reiki, and it's my own style of Reiki. That's heaven on earth Reiki, energy healing. It's for healing on the quantum fields, healing on different layers of your being and on your aura. your chakras, your auric field, all that is in and around you. And you can actually use it to reverse curses and reverse illness. However, you can incorporate other tools and modalities as well for maximum benefit. Your topics of interest has many social and philosophical perspectives. It will be great to listen and understand. Yeah, and that's why it's so great to have these live streams, because we can all share our perspectives. So I'm holding the space for the conversation, and everyone has a different experience with the things that I'm talking about, but you'll find out like some things are really universal. You wouldn't think that other people experience them, but they do. And then once we get to talking about it, we can find that out. So this is the space I hold here. What I'm healing from for myself is visibility and showing up. Coming from Arab Muslim background, where we're not supposed to be too vain or show ourselves too much, or like even just what I'm wearing right now would not be okay, let alone the topics that I'm speaking on. And then going through my process as I discovered my spiritual gifts working in the adult entertainment industry. So I was a stripper and an escort, and working in all different aspects of the business. And when I started my platform speaking about holistic healing for hoes, and specifically healing for sex workers and survivors, wanting to bring what I had learned to this community because it had kept me safe and it had helped me and it had brought me through a portal, and I wanted to help that other people do the same thing. It was liberating for me to show my body and to be sexual, to be suggestive, and to show up, and to do it for free, to not have a paywall, to just put it all out there. And I didn't care what anybody thought of it. At the time, it was just what I wanted to do. But now that I've broken these curses of the conglomerate curse of child sexual abuse, prostitution, and poverty, and I've gotten through to the other side and built a sustainable foundation for myself, I've seen how all these things work. I've seen how the Instagram algorithm works and the ways that it affects the brain chemicals when you're using it, and how the energy needs to be put out in order to receive what you want from it, and what things you need to say or show in order to be more marketable. And what I talk about and what I focus on will never be that. It will never be that. I think probably some things I say at some points will go viral and could go viral, but when I'm specifically speaking on fundamentally breaking the curses that are the underpinnings of society, there's never going to be a big platform for that on society's stage. And that's why people that are able to get up on that stage to deliver those messages, they use subversive methods to do so. And I love it. I just love it. People show you how important it is to play the long game by what they choose to do with their lives. Nobody looks at a person whose life is in shambles and with any compassion when that person is old and their life has been in shambles. It's the only it's rare for somebody to look at that person with compassion, and the most likely person to look at a person with compassion when other people wouldn't look at them with compassion is likely a person wounded, and a person of the self-sacrificial or sacrificial bloodlines. These are bloodlines that were sometimes solely created just to be sacrificed and in human sacrifice rituals. And they're also bloodlines that practiced this. So for some bloodlines, they all had different ways of doing this. Like some would always sacrifice the firstborn son or the firstborn daughter. So this is why this curse manifests as people always having a miscarriage or an abortion, their first pregnancy, but not being able to, like, nobody in the family or nobody in generations being able to actually bring that child through. It could also be some people's children die before the age of 2. So knowing about these generational curses and knowing that they exist can save you a lot of pain and heartache. Like, for example, if you already know that you're gonna lose your first baby, then it saves you a lot of the heartache of feeling the pain of that. And a lot of the reason for the pain that you feel when you go through the manifestations of these generational curses is because it's demonic entity attachments that feed on that emotion. So they want to keep you in that state, and they want to keep you feeling that way because they like that. And if you are not in control, then they'll punk you. So I want to encourage you to think about this. Where do you notice self-sacrifice play out in your own life? What steps are you taking to reverse it? Are you willing to not be the sacrifice? Are you willing to let your life be the offering instead? To let your life be the offering entails the boundaries needed to creating space where you can create. Let me know what you're creating. Let's talk, and make sure you like, share, subscribe, say mashallah, turn on post notifications so you know when I go live. Tell a friend to tell a friend, and stay tuned. Peace. Masalama.